Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Dark Magician deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an extremely fun deck to play that summons out one of the most nostalgic monsters in the entire game, the Dark Magician. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of the ultimate wizard in terms of attack and defense, the Dark Magician. I feel like 2 copies is perfect for this deck. You don't really need 3 copies of this card in the build because 2 is so easy to get to in this deck with cards like Magician Souls, instantly getting it into the graveyard so you can bring it back with Eternal Soul. And it's just such an easy card to get to in this build. 2 is just fine. We then play a single copy of Dark Magician Girl. Dark Magician Girl is a great one of in the deck as a combo piece in this build, especially for cards like the Dark Magicians. We then play a single copy of Apprentice Illusion Magician. Apprentice Illusion Magician is a great one of in this build because this card is super easy to summon to your side of the field because all you have to do is discard a card from your hand to special summon this card to your side of the field. Also, when this card is normal or special summon, it actually searches out a copy of Dark Magician from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability just to instantly get to Dark Magician. It also has a really cool ability that if your other Dark Spellcaster monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or face it from field to grave, and that monster you control gains 2,000 attack and defense points, which is crazy. For example, your copy of Dark Magician will actually go up to 4,500 with that effect, boosting it all the way up to match a Blue Eyes Ultimate. We then play a single copy of Timaeus the United Dragon. This card is extremely easy to summon to your side of the field and is basically walking polymerization, which is amazing because this card is actually a dragon, so it makes it super easy to go in cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. We then play 2 copies of Illusion of Chaos. Illusion of Chaos is really good as a 2-of in the build, but you only really need 2 copies of this card in the deck. You're never summoning this card to your side of the field because it has a really cool ability that you can reveal this card in your hand to add a Dark Magician or a non-ritual monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool effect to be able to search out cards like Magician Souls off this card's effect. This card is a definite 2-of in the build, but we can search it off of Preparation of Rites, which is why I just play the 2 copies. We then play 3 copies of Magician's Rod. Magician's Rod is an awesome 3-of in the deck because this card has a really cool effect that when this card is normal summon, you can add a spell or trap card from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the card Dark Magician in its text, making this card the best normal summon in the entire deck. We then play 3 copies of Magician Souls. Magician Souls is crazy powerful and it's probably one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck, and the majority of the time what you search with the Illusion of Chaos. This card is a crazy powerful ability that when it's on the field, you can send up to 2 spells and trap cards from your hand or your field to the graveyard and then draw that many cards, which is a great ability to be able to use this card to instantly get a draw 2. Plus, it's super easy to put on your side of the field because you can send a level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the grave to activate one of these effects. Either special summon this card from your hand or send this card to the grave, then special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard, which is an amazing effect to be able to use to instantly get the exact monster you want on the field. We then play a single copy of Bysteel Magnamut. Magnamut is great as a 1-of in this build because this card helps out a lot in the deck to be able to just instantly banish a light or dark monster from either player's graveyard to special summon it to your side of the field, which is such a cool effect. And also during the end phase, you get to add a dragon monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is a great ability to be able to use because it can search out your copies of Druid's Worm or your copies of Timaeus. Speaking of Druid's Worm, we're also playing 2 copies of Druid's Worm. Druid's Worm is just really strong this format and just dealing with fields completely by itself, which is why I'm playing 2 copies in this build. This card is great for spot removing cards off the field, plus you can always use this card to fuse into Dragoon because it's a dragon, and it's searchable off your copy of Magnamut. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start off with a single copy of Magician's Salvation. Magician's Salvation is a great one-of in this deck because when this card is activated, you can set Eternal Soul directly from your deck, which is great that you can actually set it to your side of the field so that your opponent can't hit this card with an Ash. It also has the ability that if you normal or special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, you can target one of those monsters to special summon a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard with a different name than that monster. Essentially, if you get Dark Magician on the field, you can also get Dark Magician Girl and vice versa, which is so cool that you basically get two monsters on the field for the price of one. We then play two copies of Secrets of Dark Magic. This is actually a really weird thing, but I love this in the deck because I don't want to play Red Eyes Fusion in this build because it does make it so you can't summon out cards like Magician's Souls and Magician's Rod. So this is a really good alternative to be able to use with your buy-steal cards to let you fusion and summon into Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Plus, you can set this card to your side of the field so when you bring back your copy of Dark Magician with a copy of Eternal Soul, you can just instantly fusion into your copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, sending something to the graveyard like a Druid's Worm to spot remove a card off the field while also getting a really powerful card on your side of the field. I'm really liking testing this card at 2, and it's really helpful to be able to fusion summon into some crazy powerful cards using this card. Plus, it's a quick play spell, which is insane. We then play two copies of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Secret Village of the Spellcasters is great because while you control a spellcaster monster, your opponent cannot activate spells, essentially shutting down a third of their deck depending on what you're playing against, which is so cool. But if you control no spellcaster monster, you cannot activate spells, but it's super easy to be able to put an additional spellcaster monster on your side of the field. And when you have something like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on the field, it's going to be very tough for your opponent to be able to out your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon so that they can activate spells again. We then play two copies of Dark Magical Circle. This card is kind of like Pot of Duality for the deck, which is insane. It has the ability that when this card is activated, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, then reveal a Dark Magician or a Spell or Trap card that specifically lists the card Dark Magician among them and add it to your hand. Also place the remaining cards on top of your deck in any order. And if you summon a copy of Dark Magician to your side of the field, you can target a card your opponent controls and banish it, which is great to spot remove cards off the field. I absolutely love this card as a 2-of in the deck, but I feel like you only need 2 copies because it's so easy to get to. We then play 3 copies of Soul Servant. Soul Servant is great as a 3-of in the build because it has the ability to place a card on top of your deck from your hand, deck, or graveyard that is Dark Magician or specifically is Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text, except Soul Servant, which is amazing to be able to do, especially to combo with your copy of your Dark Magical Circle, activating this as Chainlink 1 and this is Chainlink 2 to basically put the exact card you want on top of your deck to reveal with your copy of Dark Magical Circle so you can grab the exact card you want off of Soul Servant. This card also has a great ability that during your main phase, you can manage this card from your graveyard and draw cards equal to the number of Dark Magician and or Dark Magician Girls with different names on the field in your graveyard, giving you a max of draw 2 off this card's ability because we're only playing Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl and no Paladinium monsters in this build. We then play 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. I feel like this card is really good in the deck because it essentially turns your copy of Illusion of Chaos into a 5-of in the deck, essentially getting you to your copies of Magician's Souls and Magician's Rod extremely quickly. This card is great in the deck as a 3-of just to instantly get to the exact card that you want, which is really cool. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Eternal Soul. Eternal Soul is a really good 2-of in the deck because this card has a great ability that every Dark Magician in your monster zone is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. And if a face-up card, or if this face-up card leaves the field, destroy all monsters that you control, which is a little bit of a downside, but cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon just basically don't worry about this card, which is amazing. Plus, it has a really insane effect that once per turn, you can special summon Dark Magician from your hand hand or grave, which is a great ability to constantly be summoning back your copy of Dark Magician to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Gozen Match. Gozen Match is insane in this deck, so we're essentially only summoning Dark in this build, and being able to play this card in the deck is insane because it's going to lock down our opponent while we're just going to constantly be summoning Dark Magician and Dark Magician fusions. So it's very easy to play around this card in the deck. It essentially doesn't affect us at all. We then play 3 copies of Skill Drain. Skill Drain is really good because at the end of the day, we are basically playing a deck that's based around a 2500 attack point vanilla monster, making it super easy to play with cards like Skill Drain in this build. This card is amazing because it really hurts the opponent, but it doesn't do all that much to us because you flip this during your opponent's turn after you're completely set up. So this card is amazing in this build. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. I love Solemn Judgment, and it's such a powerful card in this build to stop all sorts of board breakers that your opponent might activate against you and just help you stop your opponent's plays. This card basically says no to everything, which is insane, and it's such a powerful card in this build to be able to protect your cards like Skill Drain and Gozen Match, and it's just such an awesome card in this build. So that's it for the traps, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. This card is ridiculously easy to summon in this build, and it's a walking negate by discarding a card from your hand. This card is such a powerful card because it cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and it's also super easy to summon in this build. This card usually wins games on its own. We then play a single copy of the Dark Magicians. The Dark Magicians is really good in this build as a 1-of because it has the ability once per turn, if a spell or trap card or effect is activated, you can draw a card. Then if it was a spell or trap card that you drew, you can set it to your side of the field. If it's a trap or quick play, you can activate it this turn, which is such a cool ability. Also, if this card is destroyed, you can special summon both Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or graveyard, which is insane to instantly replace this card with both Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, essentially breaking the fusion apart again, which is super cool. We then play a single copy of Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. This card basically protects cards like Gozen Match and Eternal Soul, which is super good in this deck. We then play a single copy of Master of Chaos. Master of Chaos is a really cool boss monster that has the ability, if this card is fusion summoned, you can target a light or dark monster in your graveyard and special summon it. You can also attribute a light and a dark monster to banish all monsters that your opponent controls, which is an insane ability. And I love this card as a 1-of in the deck because it's just such a powerhouse of a card. We then play a single copy of Chaos Angel. This card is really good as a 1-of in the deck because you can basically just use Dark Magician plus your copy of Magician's Rod to go into this card. It's only going to have the dark effect that monsters that you control cannot be destroyed by battle, but that's an insane effect to be able to stack on top of your copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon that can already not be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and now with this on the field, it cannot be destroyed by battle either, which is just crazy. It basically makes it invincible. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is really good in this deck as a 1-of because this card just pops multiple cards on the field, and it's just a crazy powerful card in this deck to be able to step into. We then play a single copy of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. Soldier of Chaos is really good in this deck, and plus it's amazing to be able to play a Blackluster Soldier in a Dark Magician deck. This card is super easy to summon because if you use a level 7 or higher monster as a material, your opponent can target this card with card effects, and it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects either. And when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate one of these effects to boost this card by 1500 attack, make a second attack during the battle phase of the next turn, or just banish a card off the field non-targeting, which is insane. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Nightmare Unicorn is great in the deck to be able to spin cards off the field. We then play a single copy of Selene. Selene is great because we are playing spellcasters in the deck, so this card is great to help you step into cards like Access Code. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix. Nightmare Phoenix is great to be able to pop spells and traps off the field. One copy of Dark the Dark Charmer because we're pretty much only playing Dark in this build. We play a single copy of IP Masquerena. IP is great in the deck to help you step into your copy of unicorn during the opponent's turn, so you can basically spin a card off the field. We then play a single copy of Imduk, just in case you need a dragon on your side of the field. You can basically get rid of your copy of Dark Magician because it requires a normal monster to make this card, and then you basically use your copy of Secrets of Dark Magic with a copy of Dark Magician with this card to be able to make a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which is insane to be able to make Red Eyes Dark Dragoon in this build like that. We then play a single copy of Artemis. Artemis is great in the deck because you can basically link away your copy of Magician's Rod off the field, and the Magician's Rod has an ability to be able to bring itself back from the grave to your hand by tributing a spellcaster on the field. So you can basically tribute this card during your opponent's turn to be able to add your copy of your Magician's Rod back to your hand so you can use it again later, which is great about this card. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. This deck is an extremely fun deck. If you guys have never played Dark Magician before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's such a fun deck to be able to play, especially the control version like this is just so cool. I absolutely love this deck, and it's really, really fun and nostalgic. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.